everybody. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia. Hello.
Sam, Jason Levine stepping in today.
Nice.
Alrighty, Sam wasn't able to make it for this recording, so Jason was glad to drive down amidst Miami traffic, amidst getting up early to buy Disney tickets, amidst the World Cup, which you're working hard on, right?
Yes, it's been a busy week and getting ready for Dice Tower Con also, the awards and stuff. A lot of things going on.
What's the Disney tickets thing?
We're doing a few days at Disney before Dice Tower Con, and you have to show up. You have to go 30 days early onto the app in order to get fast passes to actually get to go on the rides.
Wow, really? Okay.
So, yes.
Okay, cool.
Well, considering it's in July, that's a good idea. Okay, but hey, you're here to hear about games. Today we're talking about collectible card games or living card games or expandable card games or trading card games, whatever you want to call them. Various things.
Baseball cards, basically.
Yes. We're not including things that aren't card games, so no collectible miniature games or collectible Stratego or collectible dice games, which is sad because you know we're a couple games on our list.
There would have
might
been
be.
one that might have shot right to the top of your list.
And his,
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
I also included living card games because even though they're technically not a collectible card game, trading card game, they feel like it. New packs come out.
Yes.
Now, I did not include games that are pseudo-collectible card games. What I mean is like Marvel Legendary, because a new set comes out every 3 or 4 months. That's
Sure.
not the same thing.
Well, those feel like expansions, not like... I mean, the other ones are too, but that's like completing a set is different than this set is full, but here's another one.
I felt the same way, like when you look at things like Smash Up or anything like that, where it's a base game and then you're getting regular expansions, but it's not really a kind of a card game. I mean, it is, but you know what I mean. Like the standard collectible card games, that style of game is what I felt should be in this list.
Yeah.
Now, this is practically a dead genre right now. It really is. I mean, if you go to the stores now, obviously Magic is there, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. Those are the big three. And then there's a few other ones that come in and out. But if I go, it's almost a kiss of death. If I go talk to someone and be like, hey, and they're like, this is a collectible card game. I'm like, oh, I'm already turning around and running.
Yes.
That's got to be the toughest genre to try to break into right now. There's such a massive amount of stigma against it. They've already had their heyday. I don't understand how so many people still try to push one, and yet they're out there. People do. They just don't normally have a long shelf life.
No, I mean, Magic's the only one that has lasted. I mean, I guess Pokemon was a few years after Magic, but
Yeah.
Magic lasted. Magic's still around. You still see Friday Night Magic and everything.
Yeah, but that's almost an anomaly.
Yeah, beyond
I don't
that,
see Friday Night Munchkin.
No, you don't see Friday Night anything else. It's
Friday Night Munchkin.
it's Magic kind of is, I guess, they're still the flag bearer at this point for the genre.
That's the way it is with a lot of things, though, the first one in. So if you go to a convention, almost always, at the big conventions, you can find a booth where we call them dead CCGs, and you can buy whole boxes of these things.
Yeah, and I often do check those places out.
Yeah, because there are some decent games. Let's find out what they are.
Number 10.
Well, I was never a big CCGer. I mean, I had some
Wait,
over
what?
the days.
You asked him to do this?
This is a lot what he says. Have you seen his collections?
So the interesting thing is, I looked at my list, and I think a lot of my games, either I went for the theme or cool gimmicks in the game. So since I'm in this seat, I'm going to channel Sam for my number 10, and it's Star Wars Customizable Card Game by Decipher. I remember when this one came
the
out.
CCG, yeah. Huh?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be interested in the sequel, the one that came out after it?
The TCG from Wizards, right?
No, I'm not talking about that. The Wars. They remade the game after they lost the Star Wars license, and they just called it Wars.
No, I remember that. No, but it was cool. I mean, this one had you had the front arena and the back arena, and you had land guys and spaceships, and it was
With Donald X back arena?
no.
That's the worst joke I think I've ever heard on this top 10 list. That's horrible.
That was really
But
bad.
if you remember it, this was epic. I mean, for CCGs, this was probably one of the most deep thinking ones, because there was a lot you were doing. It wasn't like a normal CCG where you just play cards.
It's definitely the most grandiose of all of them.
Yes. And
Because you have the locations, and I mean, the whole table could be filled up.
Yes,
Right.
and-
Which was
and-
the main thing that CCGs kind of like got bogged down into, that they were not approachable. For the most part, most CCGs from that era were like just so extremely hard to get into, yeah.
Exactly, but for me, it was the Star Wars theme was the first one. It came out, a year or two after Magic, and I was
Right.
like, it's Star Wars. It's Star Wars. I could be Luke. Oh no, I could be Darth Vader. And you didn't know if you wanted to be the Empire side or the Rebellion side, and it was
I knew.
great.
Which one did you want to be?
Bad guys. All right.
Speaking of wars, by the way, before you do yours, that was in my short list. It would have been like my 12 or
Wars?
13. Yeah.
Wars?
I tried to get into Wars.
I never played Star Wars CCG, but I did play Wars, the spin-off without the theme. I thought it was a good game. I mean,
It's essentially
again,
the same thing.
it's fairly dated. It's but I like that theme. I thought it was fine.
I know.
I didn't need the Star Wars theme myself.
No, you can find Wars for in the penny rack at the conventions.
Yeah, you really can. My number 10 is Warhammer 40,000, but this is not the living card game from Fantasy Flight.
Horus Heresy or whatever that one was
This
called?
is the one from the company called Sabretooth. It was a small game, and essentially it was just have a bunch of the troops out there and fight each other over things. You had all
Okay.
the different cards. And I like it. I kind of went in expecting not to like it, so that's why, maybe I liked it more than I would have normally.
Sure.
And it felt a little bit more fun. The new one is probably a better game, right? But it doesn't necessarily feel like you're doing these battles. The old one, you have cards that attacked each other and different things, and you had all these cool units. And so this one was very short-lived. I want to say this was out less than 15 months, probably.
Right, which is pretty typical, honestly, of those early CCGs that were not Magic.
Exactly.
What was it called?
It's a Warhammer 40,000 one. Actually, I might not even have the name correct, but it's at the bottom of the screen. You can see the full name of it.
Maybe. That's why I put it there.
I was scared for a second because I was waiting for him to say Warhammer 40K Dice Masters, and I'm like, oh, good, he didn't put Dice Masters in
No,
there.
I said at the beginning,
we
no
didn't
Dice
talk
Masters.
about that. All right. My number 10 is Versus System. This is Versus System 1.0. The first time they came out with this game has been not too long ago, revamped, reworked, streamlined. They kind of made it a simpler card game. Now it's sort of expandable. It's not really collectible anymore. It's more like you were talking about the Smash Up. They kind of went that route. They put a base game out and then here's another chunk of game with a different coat of paint on it. But the original one I thought was a pretty good game. It had the superhero thing going on. It had a lot of interesting team-ups and positioning your characters where the front ones would defend the back ones, but the back ones couldn't attack unless they had targeting. And then you couldn't, if your characters in the front had flying, you could fly over the opponent's first row and attack the guys in the back. It had a lot going on in it. It was a pretty good game. It had a really good mana system where you didn't have the problem with Magic sometimes, of course, where you don't get what you need. It was a neat game. I really, I thought it was cool. I basically washed it all away at this point from my own collection, and the only thing I have for it still is a special set they came out with, like a standalone set with the Hellboy theme. It was a really cool pack.
You're such a sucker for Hellboy.
Oh, it was a really cool pack. It had two deck boxes in there with a holding case, really neat, and that's all I kept. You could be the good guys or the baddies in that, and it's neat. I still hang on to that one. So that's my number 10 Versus System, first iteration of that.
I considered this one, but this one has really fallen for me over the years. I wanted to like it a lot when it first came out because it was superheroes.
Yeah.
That was the main thing. And you could mix superheroes, and I was like, this is great. But that $1 million, they tried to buy their way into the industry. If you remember, they had a $1 million tournament prize.
I do remember that.
And so everyone was playing Versus for a while, and then suddenly, one day, it just was everyone stopped. I mean, it died.
Well, that's why they came out with the new edition. Like
but that
Z
revival has not taken
Well, that's because it's not
doing
quite.
okay.
It's not quite Versus. Now it's just Verse.
No, it's. I think they're still calling. Oh my goodness! He just I think he just picked on you for pronunciation. Bam! Nice. No, it's the same. They're calling it the same thing. It is definitely a different game. I reviewed it. It's a different game.
I did not like the new version, and let's go on.
I like
Number
Alien
9.
and Predators in the new version.
Sam, come back.
Number 9.
My number 9 is on the list because the theme only, because the game was okay at best. But I did like it a lot, and I bought a lot of decks for it because I found it on Discount Rex, and that's 7th Sea. This is the piratey one, right?
Okay.
You have your own pirate ship, and you move around and all these pirates, and it sounded super cool, and it was a little clunky.
Yeah.
Maybe little is underselling it, though.
clunky.
A lot clunky.
Tons of rules overhead.
A lot of rules and stuff, but I want it so badly. When this came out, there was like almost no pirate games in the market.
Sure.
Board games, nothing. I mean, it was Blackbeard, but come on now.
Yeah.
There were like no, so I was so excited, and each pirate had like a different flair theme to it. So this one, I'll be fair, is on the list for nostalgic reasons. That's why it's number 9. But I did like the theme a lot. So
Yeah.
7th Sea.
Yeah,
And this is one I keep hoping that like AEG, I think it was AEG did it, right? Yeah, I think AEG had it.
Yes, they did that. They did 7th Sea and they did Burning Sands.
And they did Doomtown. And
Sure.
so they brought Doomtown back. So I'm was kind of hoping they would bring 7th Sea back with like some modernized rules. I'd be all
That
over
would be
that.
cool. I had that game
Yes.
for a while, and yeah, the theme was the one thing about it. Everything else was kind of clunky. Now, looking at those cards, when I finally got rid of them, I took them out again and looked at the card frames. What a mess. Text would be big on one card, small on another one, and just stuff everywhere. That's too bad.
We were really-
That era of gaming, when it came to collectible card games, was a unique spectacle. You know?
We were like so accepting of so much stuff. You're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, my number 9 is also a game that lasted a very short time. This one came out from Wizards of the Coast, and it was basically a darker spin-off of Magic the Gathering. This is a game called Hecatomb. And Hecatomb
I
was...
knew this would be on your list.
Hecatomb is a game that has sort of a Cthulhu-esque theme. It's one that's largely geared towards multiplayer, a little bit like, Vampire the Masquerade in that way, and that really you kind of want a big group, or Doomtown. And the cool thing about it is it had these pentagon-shaped cards that were plastic. And the game was very expensive because of it and died a quick and painful death. They only had the original game and 2 smallish expansions, and that was it. They canned it. But it was really neat because you could build abominations, I think they call it. You could build monsters by stacking these cards together. And since you could see through parts of them, then you could combine the text on a few different cards on this pentagon and have a big monster. And they would attack each other, things like that. And then when they got dealt damage, you would shave the damage off of the top. So it might kill the first 2 monsters, but not hit the 3rd one. Mechanically, it was neat. It was, again, a lot like Magic and just too expensive to be sustainable, I think. It's one that I would like to see back and maybe streamlined, but I like the theme. I like the artwork in it. It was very dark, though. And I've still got some of it, actually. So Hecatomb is my number 9, and it's a bizarre sort of creation, but I dig it.
I always say maybe I'll try it out, but I don't know that I ever will. Right?
No,
You never
probably
played
not.
that?
No.
I remember
I couldn't
playing it.
When these were out, I could only afford a few of them.
Oh, I got this game after it was dead.
Ah.
Yeah. No, I mean, many of these games I would get because, they're dead. They're
Yeah.
in some bin somewhere, and they're dumping them. This never got uber cheap, but it got much cheaper than it was.
Yeah, it's in the 5-cent rack.
What do you got for number 9?
So my number 9, and here's where you guys may say I'm going off the rails or not,
You're going off the rails or not?
but my number 9 is The Eye of Judgment, which was done by Wizards of the Coast, which you're going to hear a lot of the name Wizards of the Coast in this list, and Sony Computer Entertainment. This was done for the PlayStation 3.
Oh, whoa.
It was a collectible card game, but you also used the PlayStation Eye,
yeah.
and you'd put it down on this kind. I guess officially it was like tic-tac-toe.
Was there actual physical cards?
Yes, there was.
The camera would scan them.
So what happened is it was a 3x3 grid, and it was sort of like tic-tac-toe in a way, but not quite tic-tac-toe. You had to get 5 of the 9 spaces.
Tic-tac cash.
Yes. And what you would do is you would actually hold the cards up to the Sony PlayStation
Sends you to
Eye,
school to get better
and
jokes.
when you battled, you would hold these cards up. It would scan the cards, and then animation would happen through your PlayStation, and you see these things battling
That
out
actually
as you
sounds
battle.
fun. Like, especially
was
like from a kid's point of
awesome.
view, like, ooh, I get to watch my stuff fight on screen.
Yeah.
And like I
Like
said,
Battle
Star Wars, basically, again.
yeah, gimmicks are cool, and I love this gimmick. I love the fact that you could play it with your PlayStation. Of course, now PlayStation 3 is kind of dead. I mean, this came out over 10 years ago, so
I think it's kind of dead. I think
it's dead. There's already
think they
PlayStation
stopped.
4, and I don't. Do they even have an eye? Do they even have the eye things anymore?
The
for
Eye
these
of
games?
Sauron. All right.
But the Eye of Judgment was a lot of fun, and Wizards of the Coast was the ones who put it out with Sony for that.
Well, that I never even heard of it. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Go to
Z's
school
with me
for-
on
go to
this.
School for gaming, then.
Yes.
I'm a noob.
Number 8.
My number 8 is yet another dead CCG that I got into again. After
Well, this is like probably
dead.
90% of our list.
No, like half of mine is dead stuff. And this is one that I don't know if you guys have heard of. It's called Dark Age Feudal Lords. And it is based on the Dark Age property, a property that's still around, in fact. Simon has a miniatures game with this theme.
Okay.
And the collectible card game was same theme. It's post-apocalyptic. It's a lot of, crazy Mad Maxian sort of gangs fighting. And the coolest thing, the game was pretty random. It kind of had like several levels of randomness. You had a random hand of cards. You would fight randomly with dice rolls. In fact, you would generate resources randomly by rolling dice. So a lot of randomness, but the things that put it on the list for me are the artwork was incredibly cool. And then the combat system was also really neat. It had this really engaging idea of distance fighting, where you would roll dice and check a chart, basically, on each character and see what they would hit on. And then close combat. And again, you roll to check combat attack, and the other character would check for defense. It was really neat. I had a string of numbers, so the numbers would be, it was 2d6, two six-sided dice, and like I might have a really big character that had 6, 8, 9, 12. And so if I roll 2 dice and I get a 10, I hit on the 6, the 8, and the 9. That's 3 hits. It was a really neat concept.
Okay, yeah, I
worked
can live with
very
that.
well. You would, of course, be able to pump them up and add something. It's a gun. It adds a 5 to your character. And so now I hit on 5, 6, whatever.
Oh, I like
whatever.
that combat system. That's
That
pretty
does
cool.
really-
It's a
cool.
very, very solid combat system. Again, the game literally had no expansions. They put out one set and died. But I really enjoyed it. Still got tons of it, and I just like the look of it. So, Dark Age Feudal Lords is my number 8. This is the one that if I had to pick one to come back, this is the one. I would love for them to repackage it, clean it up, and put it out again, because that'd be awesome. So, Simon, get on that. I know you got the theme.
Do they?
Yeah.
And this one you can find in what, the 10-cent bin?
Oh my goodness!
Gen Con.
You're running that one in the ground. What do we got? They don't got bins.
So I'm gonna be with Z on this one, since we're talking about games that a lot of them. This one's another Wizards of the Coast game, and it lasted for one season basically, which is mostly
okay,
every
one
single
season.
game. This is NFL Showdown. I am
Oh
a
my
huge
goodness.
football fan.
Oh, my.
I'm a huge football fan, so I picked this up like crazy when it came out.
To be fair, you're a huge anything fan.
I am. And this one had
That's
that.
awesome.
Do you guys remember this one? It had the little scanning bars, and you swipe the cards. So I would take like Randall Cunningham and swipe him through, and then I would take Brian Urlacher, the defensive guy, and swipe him through. And then you'd pick a play and swipe it through, and it would tell you what the result of. Yes, Randall Cunningham got a pass off, or no, Brian Urlacher sacked him. And there was
Like
a little.
a credit card scanner type
Yes,
thing?
there was like this reader thing that came with it. Wizards of the Coast puts this out. It lasts. You might find it in a bin somewhere now, but it was.
Like the 12-cent bit.
It was
my
great.
goodness.
I mean, it was basically like one of the best football games out there. You pick 2 players, you pick a play, you go for it, and you scan these things through.
That does sound simple but fun.
It was.
You know.
The scanner broke. I think I don't know
End of the
anyone
game, but
who
that was it.
still has a scanner that works. But
That's the problem with gimmicks like that. Once that central thing goes, you're done.
yes.
Literally
That's the second one in a row you
worthless.
have a gimmick. You had the eye, and now you have the scanner.
Yes, but it was cool, and it was Wizards of the Coast. I mean, they were the hot company, and I love NFL, and I love it. I wish that someone would come back. Wizards of the Coast needs to bring it back.
All right.
Never
well,
even heard of that one.
Let's
That's
move
cool.
out of obscurity into a much more mainstream CCG. One that was briefly with Wizards of the Coast. Now they're their own company, and that is Pokemon.
Okay,
Hey,
Pokemon.
I remember when
Pokemon.
Pokemon first came out. I was like, all right, new CCG. I'm getting in on the ground floor.
Oh,
I
really?
played it, and I was like, this is boring. I was used to things where I had lots of characters. I can have one Pokemon at a time.
Yeah.
Bench a bunch of them, yeah.
So all those worthless cards I got rid of.
Like Pikachu.
No, like
Yeah.
all those.
They were
Set
worthless.
one of
They were
Pokemon.
worthless then,
Yeah.
but now.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
so recently I've gotten, not back into the game, but I've gotten some more decks of it because it's been around for a long time,
Yeah.
and played with my kids, and I was like, you know what? This game is pretty simple still, but it's not a bad game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun options to it. It obviously has gotten a boost in the past couple years thanks to Pokemon Go. bringing Pokemon
Yeah.
to the forefront of
and
everyone.
tournaments and all of that.
And,
They're still
and the
going with
video
that.
games. I mean, Nintendo put out a ton of video games for it.
Right. No, I'm saying that, but the Pokemon Go like hit the world, like people who never played Pokemon. So suddenly Pokemon
True.
was in the limelight, and then I got my daughters who never cared about Pokemon before. They were now interested in it. It's good. I don't know that it's an amazing game for me, but I still think it's pretty solid, and I would play it.
Yeah, I mean, it made my not quite top 10 list, but I'm guessing for you the reason you put it so low is because you didn't catch them all.
I'll never catch them all.
I think they expect you to not catch them all.
I try.
There's got to be someone in the world who's caught them all.
That person's very broke.
Number 7.
My number 7 is a game, this is the first one on the list, there shall be more, that is from Fantasy Flight Games and has a reworking of something older. And this is Legend of the Five Rings, the living card game.
Wow, I didn't expect this one to be on your list.
Yeah. I never played the original L5R. I had, actually, in fact, I even bought some of it at a discount bin somewhere. And then I tried, and it was impenetrable.
Same thing. I got an older version of it. I would try it. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I could
The
not.
rules were super complex.
I couldn't get in there. So the new one, I tried that, and it was a lot more comprehensible. It made sense, and while it's still a really heady game, it's still a really long and complex game. It's a lot better than what I remember of the first one. Again, don't kill me. I just barely
Maybe they
got
just
into
made the
first
rules more accessible, at least.
Yeah, and the game is, from what I understand, streamlined. It's a lot more forgiving now. Before, when you had two armies go up against one another, it could be massive armies. And if I beat you, even by 1 point, everybody on your side died. Everybody on your side was dead. So it could lead to some balance issues that way, kind of runaway leader problems, things like that. Now it's a lot more streamlined, and I just like the new mechanisms they've got. It's interesting. The main thing being this idea of giving your characters fate. I forget what they call them. Basically tokens. They remove one at the end of every round, and once the last one's removed, that character goes on their way. And you lose them. So you can pay a lot and keep them around for a while, or you can just put someone out and not even put a token on it, get some hits in or something, and then they're gone next round. And that's neat. It's a cool balancing system. So yeah, Legend of the Five Rings. They've had a really, really slow release schedule on this one. I'm worried it's gonna die, to be honest. But I hope
They've had a
keep
weird
it.
release schedule.
Yeah, this one's been, I don't want to say fumbled, but it seems to be the strangest one of all the ones they've put out. The support seems to be the strangest.
It seems, though, with their company that a lot of these LCGs that they're doing now, the releases used to come really quick, like one a month. And
Yeah, but
in
this one
general,
they
coming
did-
slower.
This one they did one a week for 6 weeks straight.
Yes.
Then they took a couple months off and then did it again.
It took way more than 2 months off.
Well, like almost a year actually.
Well,
right?
the second set's not out.
Oh, so it is a year. All right.
Yeah, so yeah, they try to inject the card pool, which they did, and it was fine. And then there was nothing for a long, long time, so it kind of has gotten stagnant. Again, for people who play it in tournaments, I don't care. But yeah, I'm a little worried about it. Anyway, Legend of the Five Rings, the living card game. That's my number 7.
My number 7 is a game I played because I liked Marvel Legendary, and it's from the same company, Upper Deck, and that is Superhero Squad. This is that little
don't even know what
collectible
this
card
is.
game. It has like it's like baby Deadpool and baby Spider-Man. They're like little cute
I don't
versions
remember
of them.
that.
Yeah, well, like no one did. In fact, when I went to Upper Deck and I was like, "What's that game?" They were like, "You probably wouldn't like it." I was like, "I don't want to see it." They're like, "Are you sure?" They didn't really do a good job of getting me into it. I got it, so I brought it home, played Melody, and it's fine. It's one of those games that's very similar to Verse, where
So which one?
shut up. As you keep bringing out each turn, your level goes up by 1. Your level goes up by 1 every turn, so you're able to play bigger characters,
Sure.
and then you're flipping over cards and seeing if they match, and it's very, very simple, but it's a lot of fun. It's just some fun superheroes. You get to play with all your Marvel superheroes in their chibi forms, basically.
Is it something that they supported for a while?
Oh,
or
no.
it
It was like
dead?
6 months to a year or whatever, but hey,
Okay.
The typical life cycle of a CCG.
Superhero
Yeah.
Squad, my number 7.
By the way, it is Versus. Versus the short version of it, or the streamlined version.
No, he knows that. I think at this point he does it on purpose.
I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
So
I was surprised. I was not expecting to hear any game I had not heard of before on this list. You guys have done 2 now. I'm very impressed, fellas.
well, there might be another one. Actually, you probably heard of this one.
Yeah, that's right in your face.
Even
heard of
though
it.
what's funny is
I've heard of it.
Z keeps talking about how every game he picked up in the like penny bin, because he's like much younger than us. I remember picking these games up when they came out, and they cost like real money.
It's called you like a child or something.
And
Yeah.
a broke child.
So speaking of
What did he just say? You're young and you have no money. Wow, Jason.
speaking of children, you probably were playing this when you were a little kid. By Wizards of the Coast also. the
Play with a stick.
Harry Potter trading card game.
Oh.
But I do know about it.
I loved
Have you
this
played it?
one.
I played it.
Here's the most interesting. When you were a kid, or no? Did you pick it up in the bin later?
How old do you think Harry Potter is?
It came out in like the 90s, right, or the 2000s.
I don't know
How
when
young
it
does
came
he
out.
think you
I
are?
don't know. But anyway, no, I bought it. Yeah, but definitely in the penny bin. He's not wrong. I bought it after it was dead.
So here's the interesting thing. Well, another Wizards of the Coast one. This one I thought would have legs because Harry Potter was so hot when this game came out. It came out around 2000, and the two main designers were Mike Elliott and Paul Peterson. Who obviously Paul Peterson went on to do Smash Up, and Mike Elliott went on to do a ton of things. But this game had this really cool mechanic where your deck was your damage, so you're casting spells at each other, and I might be Harry Potter and he might be Draco Malfoy, and if I cast, I gotta do it, Wingardium Leviosa, Pew! And
I didn't think you had to do that. But all right.
come on, the spells are the best part. And I cast a spell
You
at
had
Z,
to do that in the
and I
game.
do, let's say, 2 damage to him. He has to take the top 2 cards of his deck and burn them. And if you run out of deck, that's who loses. So burning the deck was really cool. I mean, Wizards of the Coast
Star
had
Wars CCG did the same thing.
yeah, but this was much better
Are you
done.
about to say Harry Potter's cooler than Star Wars?
That's why it was number 7. Okay, not cooler, but the game was cooler.
I will say this
Oh.
game, in my opinion, this game was better than Pokemon.
This game
okay.
should have. This game should be back in print. They did a few
but when it came out-
expansions.
In 2000, that was like a dead. 2000 was like
Yes.
a death knell.
Yes.
You could have made any
Yes.
CCG and they were dying. At that point,
They
people
kept
were like,
this going for a bit. It had a few
Yeah,
expansions.
Diagon Alley expansion,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Quidditch
but,
expansion.
And I thought it was, honestly, for the target market that they were going for, I thought it was a better game than Pokemon. Artwork was better.
Yes.
Mechanisms were kind of interesting, but yeah, there was no way to keep it alive.
Plus, we all dream about being wizards.
I do not.
I definitely don't.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Stop it. He did it twice.
Number 6.
All right, my number 6 has already been mentioned by Jason. It's our first crossover.
Guardian Leviosa?
It is Star Wars collectible card game.
Okay.
And this was...
The Cypher game.
Yeah, so Decipher one. The CCG, not the TCG. I really like this game a lot, and it had a huge host of problems. There was like 70% of the cards in the sets were never playable.
Yes, right.
They were not just that they you wouldn't use these in a tournament. If you just didn't use them at all, they were just bad.
Well, I heard that the main issue was that you couldn't be the cool people you wanted to be. Like those were chase cards.
Oh, and
Yes.
that has another problem, right?
Yes.
To beat Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker, you had
gotta
to
spend money.
really spend money because they were hard to find. And they finally, 3 years later, made it cheap versions of
Commons,
them
yeah.
that you could get, but that was kind of too late. And so I ended up knowing so much about these obscure characters who showed up in 1 second of a clip, and you're like, oh yeah, I know that guy.
Yes.
And so we had a lot of fun, but you didn't actually get to be Jedi. And they worked on that as sets came by. And the game also would be weird if Jason would make a deck that was all Star Destroyers and TIE Fighters, and I made a deck that was, I'm defending from a ground invasion of Hoth. They just did not work together well.
Right.
You had to kind of say, this is what we're going to do. Like the light side, you could blow up the Death Star. Well, that's not useful if he doesn't have Death Star in his deck.
Yeah.
So they had to make a light side Death Star that you would play, which would help him out. And then he's like, well, if you played that, you're obviously planning to blow it up.
Yes.
So there was some kind of...
Oh, wow. So you would play your own Death Star just to nuke it?
Yeah,
Yes.
That's weird.
But there was a lot of cool concepts to the game, and there was a lot of neat things. There was, like I said, many problems. Sense, Control, Alter, those are 3 cards that cancel things, and you needed those in every deck. But they were not easy to find. There was a lot of problems, but it had more of a feeling of Star Wars than any other Star Wars game has had. Any of these. TCG was a good game, I guess, but it didn't feel like Star Wars. This one
No.
did.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, Star Wars collectible card game.
Yes. So I'm finally getting off of the Wizards of the Coast run.
Okay.
Even though I've talked about a lot of old ones. Now I'm going over to Fantasy Flight, and my number 6 is Arkham Horror, the card game.
Nice.
To me, it's
good we're talking
the
about it,
most.
'cause I'm sure it won't be on your list.
No,
I don't
like
think
it
it'll be
that
on Z's list at all. I mean, I'm guessing this is not a
I didn't know
crossover.
you had played this one.
Oh yeah. I played the
Yeah, I didn't
I
know
played
that
the
either.
Rougarou. I played 3 different ones.
It's a little side.
It's a little side one. I played 3 different ones so far, and it's immersive. This is the theme seeps through, and
The walls.
the walls. and
Rats in the walls.
It's an immersive experience. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the LCGs in general, because you got to get so much, and I'm not as collectible as I used to be. But this one, out of all the ones that Fantasy Flight has done, it's my favorite, and I really enjoy the theme of it. I really enjoy the deepness of it, and I mean, watching Z play them in the playthroughs a few times, it's
You watched me?
You
Yeah.
watch him, but you won't watch mine?
of course. It's a great game, which maybe it'll be a 3-way crossover, but who knows?
It will not be a 3-way crossover.
All right. No, I don't have it on my list.
I
All right,
thought it was okay.
My number 6 is another living card game. This is Android Netrunner. Squeezing in just above Legend of the Five Rings for me. I think it's a game that is it's a little, barely more approachable than Legend of the Five Rings. It's also shorter. That's a big one for me because L5R is long. But Android Netrunner is obviously the original was a very revolutionary game originally. And what Fantasy Flight has done with it, putting it in their Android universe, not that big a deal, but the way they've supported the game, everything they've put out, the way they've kind of and they didn't change that much from the original. The game was very well made, but it's obviously back in print, and they've kept it going. And it's a game that is just clever, interesting. It's kind of hard to teach. There's a ton of names for things that don't need to be that way, which is another barrier to entry. And the fact that one side has different names for the same things than the other
That drives me
side.
nuts.
Right? If you're the runner or if you're the corp, then your deck is called a different thing.
Yes.
It's like, oh my goodness, this is so hard to teach and kind of get into. But they're going for the theme. I kind of get that. I enjoyed it. This is one I kind of built up a little bit and then sort of let it go. Didn't really keep it up because it's hard to find players. But I respect it. It's a game that is well made. It's interesting, and the two sides being so different is a very cool thing you don't see very often in this kind of game. So that is Android Netrunner from FFG, my number 6.
Number 5.
Well, I'm going back to Wizards of the Coast. This is
The break from Wizards was short-lived.
I'm back. I'm sorry. I
well,
said those
I'm
things.
sorry. Android only made my short list. It didn't quite make it, and that's what you get for your Arkham Horror comment a few minutes
Wow,
ago.
really? I thought Android would be on your list, but all right. What do you got?
No, I mean, I love the asymmetrical, but it's a little fiddly.
Yeah.
My number 5 is the grandfather kind of the Harry Potter game. It's WCW Nitro, the card game by Mike Fitzgerald.
By Mike Fitzgerald.
I love this one. This one was the one that came out with the concept of when I hit you, you have to burn cards off your deck. So you have a deck of 60 cards, you might only get to play 30 of them I got hit, and I just lost my best card because it flipped out of my deck, and I loved it. And I love the wrestlers. You could be Goldberg and Buff Bagwell and Hollywood Hogan and all those WCW guys, yes, that were popular.
I don't know any of these people.
That were popular back in the day.
You don't know Hollywood Hogan?
You know Hollywood Hulk Hogan? Come on.
Hulk Hogan, yeah, I know.
No, when he was Hollywood Hogan because they had to change his
Yeah.
for branding purposes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
and Big
How could you
Papa
not know
Pump and Ric Flair. You don't remember all these wrestlers? This was when WCW still
too
existed.
young for that.
I think it was at the time was it more popular than WWF even. It
There's
was
a whole documentary on the ups and
it
downs.
was really
but yes,
popular.
It was very,
But this game was the first game that had that burning mechanism. Because every other game, like Magic and the game that came before it, you just went through your deck. This one,
I had a life total you were picking at usually, yeah.
This one, your life total was your deck, and when you ran out of your deck, you lost. And
cool.
I love that concept. I love this game. All the wrestler cards were all made of foil as well, and it was really cool. And yeah, as a normal Wizards of the Coast game, it didn't last very long.
yeah, unless it makes the magic money. It doesn't get the magic
yeah, no,
treatment.
it's true. It could even do
Exactly.
fairly well, and if it wasn't making magic. amounts, then they canned it.
Exactly.
Do you still have it?
Yes, I still have like all my stuff. Come
I
on.
can't believe you just asked that question.
Do you have everything? If you have it, you
I
still
have
have
everything. I have everything. So if we want to reminisce about the NWO for life,
We don't. All right, so
Yeah,
what's your
really
next
don't.
one?
Yeah. All right, my number 5 is, again, a game that died. This is a weird one. I got it on the cheap, of course. It's one that Tom likes to make fun of me for liking so much. Anachronism. And this one came out from TriKing.
I hate it, that's why.
TriKing in partnership with the History Channel. And so again, like you said, you had a weird mashup earlier. It's a fighting game in which you take a person from history, a character from history, and you fight against some other character from history. But you can equip that person with random stuff. So you can have Charlemagne with a samurai sword, and
He's making it sound way cooler than it is.
It's basically, here's the thing and why I like it, okay? I think it was not sustainable, by the way, because every card is not card thickness. It's basically a tile. Every single card is foil. The game was expensive. It was not sustainable. But
And the History Channel didn't know what they were doing, too.
probably, right. So, but the game is like 5-10 minutes a match. It's extremely short. You have 5 cards. That's it. You build. It was one of the first games where it was not blind buy. If you bought a character, it came with its own 4 other cards.
really.
It was not random. But then if I wanted this like incantation from that character, I could take that and put it in my character. You would set out the 4 cards that were not your fighter in whatever order you want to. So like round 1, I might want the sword early because it lets me hit with the sword. It's a nicer, hit. But then there's other stuff I'll get only later, like this last card. That's only around for 1 round. So what if I put that one into play and have that for 4 rounds or 5 rounds? It was a neat concept. It's just, then you roll dice and see what happens. So there's that. But I enjoy it a lot. I think it's a cool game. The theme's neat. The whole concept is neat. This is not going
I
to set
think
the
the
world on
concept.
fire.
How do you like Duel of Ages? It's like very similar.
This is 5 minutes.
I was going to
just said
say
that.
it sounds like Duel of Ages, but
Duel of Ages could be 5 minutes.
Yeah, I played basically cycles of 5 minutes in which I would be in the forest and try to leave, and it would jump back to the forest, and I tried to leave. It was broken.
so I
Duel of
don't.
Ages is a broken game here. I said it first. Bam.
I'm gonna kill some people by the time this show's over.
This sounds really. This sounds really interesting. I mean,
It's not.
well,
I
Z
think
made it
it's neat.
sound interesting.
I think it's a neat game anyway.
but
So
expensive. So the 25-cent bin, right?
for sure, I bought a bunch of this stuff on the cheap. So Anachronism is my number 5.
My number 5 is a crossover. This time I'm gonna cross over with Z.
Anachronism. I
And this
knew
is
it.
my only living card game on the list, and that is Android Netrunner.
Okay.
I never played the original Netrunner. People always told me. I looked at the cards. I hated the artwork. I
Yeah.
actually dislike. I know this is anathema. I dislike the Neuromancer. The book. That whole.
Yeah.
Oh, like Snow Crash and all that stuff? Is that what
just-
you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't get it. The Android theme though, I liked.
Yeah, sure.
So adding that helped. But you're right. It was very. Getting into this game was a bear. Me and Jason, we read the rule book. We watched a video. We
Yeah,
were
we had to watch a
okay,
video
the
to learn how to play
The
this.
video finally explained it. We're like, all right.
Yeah.
And then even then, I don't play it that much because the meta is like far up here. I'd be like,
Whoa, insane.
Ooh, that card looks cool. Someone slapped my hand. Be like, don't even touch that card. That doesn't fit in that deck.
I avoid being around folks like that because I'll look.
But unfortunately,
Thoroughly foolish.
the game fits in that category, right?
Yeah.
Where there's not new people wanting to play it, and the people who really love it are so much better than I am. However, it's
Yes.
really cool. I have to give it a lot of props, the asymmetrical stuff of it, and I love the whole, is there a trap there or not?
Yeah, it's
Do
a
you
push your
do you
luck
wanna
kind of
go
game.
there?
Yeah.
Did I put a trap? You never. I like playing the corp better, the corporations.
Okay.
I like
Yeah.
being like the guy setting the traps.
I
and all
like being
that
the
jazz.
runner, actually. I
Yeah.
prefer being the runner.
Alrighty. Well, anyway, that's my number 5, Android Netrunner.
Number 4.
So my number 4 is sort of new, as opposed to a lot of things that we've talked about.
Well, that doesn't really narrow it down. It could be in the last 20 years.
No,
No,
I think
no.
it's the last 2 years. It's
Oh, wow.
Drop Mix by, I guess, Hasbro's putting it out, but Harmonix.
That's true. That
Okay,
counts.
I don't know. I looked in it. Okay, I when I was making my list, I was like, I don't know if drop mix works, right? Because
It's a collectible card game.
Dude, that counts, Tom.
Of course it's a collectible
I
card
didn't even
game.
think of that. I'm changing my whole list.
but you
my
know
1
what
through
you're getting in
4
the packs.
is drop mix.
Kind of.
It's
you know what you're
LCG
getting in the
style.
pack for LCGs.
It's LCG style. It's LCG
okay,
style.
okay,
And like me,
I
I
retract
love
that.
I love rock music, so I instantly I'm like rock pack. I'm getting the rock pack.
Wait, this is a number 4 for you? Wow.
Well,
Here's the thing. It's
I
a super fun
love
toy.
It.
I just don't think the game is that great.
But we're talking about overall. I mean, you're putting it down. You're slamming the thing down. Come on, you have the Did you get the Transformers Steam promo card? Transformers, more
They
than
have
meets
that?
the eye.
I found it the other day and I was like, why do I have this promo card and not
That's
using
pretty
this?
cool.
Because I got it for you when we were at TAX and we interviewed them.
I love
No, I've never played with it.
you, love me.
Transformers,
Transformers
more than meets the eye. No, I mean, the whole game is basically you're putting down different cards that's playing like the bass tracks, the drum tracks, the vocal tracks.
It's like amazing technology.
But you could
it really is.
mix
It
and
is.
mash. So you could put like Aerosmith with Run DMC. No, wait, they did
that already.
Or you could do
that a
Anthrax
joke?
with Public Enemy. They did that too.
Oh, he wrote this. Like last night, he was like, Aerosmith, Run DMC equals ha ha. He was
Equals
coming up-
walk this
he was-
way.
He was coming up with jokes last night.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Their songs. Tom missed the song or
He
so.
knows. All right.
But I love the mixing and
mix.
matching. And specifically, I like the rock music in it because that's the kind of music I like.
That's cool.
Unfortunately,
that's a neat pick.
there's
That's
not
a neat
enough
pick.
music I like in the game at this point. There's a lot of songs in there I'm just not a big fan of.
Tool?
Well, or just not me. Okay, all right. My number 4 is my nostalgic pick for sure, and that is Overpower.
Of course, this is going to be on here.
This is the one I played the most of every game on my list.
Wow.
Because this is when I introduced me to CCGs. When Magic came out, I was like, I don't want to do that. And then Overpower was like, superheroes?
Yeah.
And I'll just buy a couple of these starter packs. What? I can buy more? Let me look at my budget. Food. All right, I won't eat tonight. And that's where it began.
Oh,
but
man.
Overpower was fun because you had 3 superheroes in the front, 1 in the back, and if you played the full game with the venturing thing, no CCG has done that yet. That's still, the game was unbalanced, for sure. And they did not make it better as time went by. They released a really underpowered DC set, a very overpowered image set. Then they tried to fix it as time went by with all these cool things that, some of them were neat, but there was definitely better cards that were out there.
Okay.
I never would have bought a Lunchable in my life, but they had promo cards for overpowering them. So I bought a lot of Lunchables to get those promo cards. And I still like it a lot. I'll still play it now, but I'm going to build both decks for both players so that it's an even game.
So you got both things in there. You got your card game and you got your meal with one deal.
I don't like Lunchables.
You're going to eat it and you're going to like it.
Well, yeah, Laura said if you're going to waste money on something like that.
Wait.
This was early marriage days. Let's go.
Oh, my goodness. I'm thinking you're like a kid or something.
Shut up!
Okay, I'm moving on. What are we on here, guys?
Number 4.
Okay, my number 4 is another LCG. This is the Lord of the Rings, the card game, which is a living card game. It's the one that Arkham Horror, the card game, is sort of based on. This was their
Yes.
first stab at doing a living card game that was really radically different from all the other ones. It was not a competitive game. It could be played solitaire. It was one in which you would buy new content that was not just more cards to build your deck with. It was, in fact, adventures to go on. When this was first announced, my mind was kind of blown with what they were doing with this living card game idea that they had already put into play, a few years ago, before then. For me, Lord of the Rings is a theme that I like. It's fine. I like the movies. I like the concept. I like the books. But I never like froth at the mouth for Lord of the Rings content. And when I played it originally, I kind of had a hard time getting into it. I found it extremely punishing, etc., etc. I sort of let it go, and then got back into it later on, and I like it more now than I did originally, like at first blush. They've updated it a bit. They've now found the ability to kind of give you difficulty levels, which I think is a much better concept. The original was an all or nothing thing, and the game was incredibly punishing.
Right.
So I like it. It's a neat concept. It works well solitaire, and I like that you're able to do that, to play this sprawling kind of card game with tough choices, interesting concepts, and you can just set it up, shuffle a couple of decks, and go by yourself. It's a neat idea. So, Lord of the Rings, the card game, that's my number 4.
Very good choice. I mean, for me, that
You
made
like
my
that one too?
It made my short list. It didn't quite make my top 10 because I liked the theming in Arkham Horror better.
Yeah.
But
Not me.
I really like.
Shut up.
Spoiler alert coming, but I really like the Lord of the Rings as well.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Ah, here we go. My number 3, which is many people's number 1, is Magic the Gathering. I know.
Is that your number 1?
I know.
What could possibly be higher than this?
Yes, well, again, I'm not saying these are the best. These are my favorites. I still like Magic, although for me, Magic would actually probably be like number 7, but the Commander thing is so much fun for me. I love Commanders. There's 2 things I like about Magic a lot. Commander decks and playing 2 pre-packaged starter decks against each other.
Yes.
Whether they're the dual decks or they release 5 or 6 starter decks with each new set.
Sure.
They are so, in the last 6 years, they're so good.
Yes.
You're like, oh, I'm going to play this deck. It's a deck about Minotaurs, and all the cards in the deck are about Minotaurs. It's not like they're giving you a janky deck that you then have to go and buy the cards to fill it out. These decks feel like, oh, this is a cool tournament. I know they're not, but they feel like a really fun time. You can literally play Magic without ever getting into the collectible aspect at this point.
You can
Now,
try.
Well, you can try, right? You might get sucked in, but Commander is like, oh, these really huge, since I'm a player who likes to play really big, giant characters, they're not usually useful in a regular game. But here I can play them, and I know you don't have some super deck because it has to be 100 different cards.
Right.
Or-
Never played this Commander version.
yeah, Commander is you have a 100 deck, and other than basic lands, every card has to be different. You start with a leader on the table, basically.
Is this Jace the whatever guy that I hear about?
No,
What? No.
you're going to yell about it this one.
Oh, you're going to get so much garbage
I
on
played
this.
Magic when it first came out, and then I stopped.
Oh, okay. So he's really, really out of the loop.
Yeah. No, but I would say modern Magic. I played Magic way back in the day. Modern Magic is pretty fun. You even played that. What's that new set? The Unhinged or Unglued or
Yeah, the crazy one, whatever it's
The
called. Yeah.
warped weird thing.
Yeah, but it was just
That was fun. That was
it
really fun.
I found that if I just dip my toes into Magic and don't collect it at all, just kind of play it every once in a while, I really enjoy it.
Yes.
It's still an incredibly solid system.
Yes.
Just don't play tournaments.
Right. Well, I could put that for like every game on my list. All right, what's your number 3?
All right, my number 3 is the last one on the list, which is a dead old CGG, or trading card game in this case. And it is one that very few people have heard of, I think, and one that very few people would look at and go, I bet that's a good game. This is the Nightmare Before Christmas trading card game.
This was my number 11, actually.
Have you played it?
Yeah.
I've played it too. Come on,
Andrew-
it's
Andrew
Disney
Parks.
themed.
It's an Andrew Parks, and Zev is the co-designer on it,
Yes.
at least according to I don't
okay.
know.
Yes.
I don't know how much of that he did, but he's listed as a co-designer. This is a game that I still say the reason this one largely failed is twofold. A, it's hard to put out expansions when the movie is kind of finite, and there's, they had to stretch even for the first expansion, the
This
second
is a
set.
CCG. This is a
And
CCG.
number 2, the game doesn't feel like a collectible card game.
Right, you could be happy
Once
with the
you've
starter
built
decks.
your deck and you are happy with what your deck does and how it works, you don't need any more cards. That's the main issue there.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Because you are building in kind of a Euro-style way a deck that functions well. You're building a machine. It's like it's kind of like those games in which you are tableau building something that works well with combos. You would do that in just your deck of cards. Like, I'm going to build a deck that really burns through the deck very quickly. I search for cards. I put them out. That's my strategy. And once that was in play, you were done needing more cards. I thought it was a brilliant concept, a very interesting, well-made game with turn structure. You played 12 rounds, and the game was over. It didn't feel like basically every other collectible card game, and I loved it. I played this a ton. Really enjoy it. Still have all of my cards for it. But now I think it's finally gotten hard to find. It was never super easy to find, but you could get it fairly cheaply. But now I think it's finally hard to find. The Nightmare Before Christmas collectible card game, a trading card game. Love it. My number 3 and my number 1, Dead CCG.
All right.
That was on my short list too. I really, really loved it.
That's an impressive game. If you can get it, I recommend
I mean,
it.
it's fun, and it's Disney, which is I love Disney.
You're a big Disney fan. We know.
Wearing the Incredible shirt at the same time, and
Wait, are we advertising? Are we getting paid for this?
Apparently.
good old Jack Skellington.
What's this Disney money?
Good old Jack Skellington here. But my number 3 is, I think, well, it's not my first crossover because we crossed over on other things, but it's Magic the Gathering.
Woohoo! Wait, but you just said you didn't know who Jace was.
I don't, because I played Magic from, what was it, 93 or 94, whenever it came out, until like 95, 96, when I sold everything, which today would have been worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, those Black Lotuses and Moxes that I sold for like nothing.
That's worse. I don't feel as bad for you earlier getting out of Pokemon.
Oh, no. This stuff was worse.
I had like all
So
of
you
that
haven't
stuff.
played Magic like in the past several years, right?
No, because what happened is when I sold it, I still got a lot of money, but comparatively not a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever even play Magic with you because I think it would accidentally pull him back in.
Yeah.
I would feel bad about that.
Yeah.
What happened was, I only collected the first couple sets. I collected the original set,
Alpha, right.
because it was black border and it looked great. And when they made the white borders, I'm like, these things look ugly. The white borders are hideous. And I had the Arabians, I had the Antiquities, and I had the Legends. And then when the Dark came out and they started doing those half hit point, you had to put little tokens on the table, I'm like, I just want to play a game of cards. I don't need these tokens. I don't need this stuff. And that's kind of when I said, okay, I'm done with this. I actually played the board game recently, that new board game card game, and
that's right. I know you played that.
it's really cool because they're
Well, if you played that, then you've played Modern Magic.
not really. It's just pre-constructed decks that you play
but
with.
those are basically Magic the Gathering decks with a board aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've played. You know, then you're caught up pretty
Just
much.
that one thing, though.
Yeah,
But
I know
those decks-
4 decks. The dinosaur deck, and I don't remember what the other 3
Oh,
were
I
in
know,
that.
but that is straight up. I looked through it as basically as Magic.
But I was hooked on this game forever. That was when I was in college, so I was really hooked on Magic. I was like, I got the posters. I still have the original posters, which are worth a lot of money, from what I understand.
What?
Yeah, they had original posters
At
with all
least
the
you're
cards.
not a hoarder. That's good.
I had the gold border cards, which I think I still have my gold border set somewhere. Do you remember those? They had square edges.
No,
they had
I wasn't
gold
playing
borders.
Magic back then.
How old do you think he is?
I still have a lot of black border cards, like Plague Rats, etc., because they when the guy bought my cards, he only bought what was expensive in Scry magazine at the time. He's like, "Oh, these are the expensive ones from Scry. These are the ones I want."
Oh,
and he
man,
didn't want
I-
anything else.
Remember Scry? You'd go in and look
Yes.
for the prices of all the cards.
Yes.
I'd go look and be like,
How many
20
people
cents.
are watching this right now who are like, "What
So
are you talking about?"
I still have
That's a throwback.
ton of this Magic stuff, and I haven't really played it much, but I did used to make overpowered decks. They changed. I think I've said this story before, but they changed the rules of Magic tournaments because of me, because I made that Channel Fireball deck where it was just Channels, Fireballs, and Black Lotuses, and I would win on turn 1 every time, and I won a tournament that way. And then they said, okay, you only can have 5 of one card and 1 of every other card in the deck after
Normally I'd get
that.
onto someone's case for bragging like this, but I really could see them changing
They
the rule
changed the
because
rules
of
because
Jason.
of you.
Because of a deck I made that I won on the first turn every time, and they made cards
You're the one who broke
banned from
Magic.
tournaments. I broke Magic. Originally didn't have rules. Which you could put whatever you wanted in the deck. You played for Ante, which by the way I hated that they got rid of Ante.
Oh no, they did that.
No,
very
are you
quickly.
kidding? I
Very
want to punch
quickly
someone
they
in the
did.
face for that. No.
Why?
they-
Do you know how
He's
many
talking
cards
about
I got
you-
for free?
I know. I don't want to give up cards. All right. All right.
Anyway, Magic the Gathering is still amazing. It's still the granddaddy of collectible card games.
Well,
Yes.
yes.
Number 2.
All right, well, I'm getting excited about all this Magic the Gathering talk. So you know what? My number 2 is Magic the Gathering also. Jason, tell that story again.
No.
don't
So,
tell it. Don't tell
I
it.
made this one
I'm
overpowered
kidding.
deck.
All I'm going to say is this. I recently got rid of most of my Magic the Gathering stuff and just kept dual decks. And a few other random, like a few cards. But dual decks is the way to go for me now.
You like those the best.
I love them.
Yes.
Dual deck is 2 decks, already balanced against each other, and thematically linked somehow. Like Angels versus Demons. You buy that, 2 decks.
Knights versus
play-
Dragons. Yeah.
Yeah,
really,
right.
really
That's
good.
it.
Oh.
So that's the way to go for me. Magic the Gathering, I really enjoy the game still, but dual decks is the way to go. And they're stopping that production line, by the way. The last one just came out. So, but I've got them all
2
except
years
that
they'll
new
be
one.
back with it. I'm calling it now.
Maybe.
I heard about these dual deck things, and it sounds interesting. It's sort of like the board game, I guess, but instead of 4 decks, you have just 2.
And there's no board.
It's just 2 decks that you buy that work against each other.
Isn't there some other thing that I heard about where there's some master deck that you all play against or something?
Nemesis or arch nemesis
Yeah, like
or
one
whatever.
person, you would like it too much actually, because one
There's a
person's
lot.
big
There's a
and
lot of-
powerful, and everyone plays against them.
There's a lot of different ways to play these days, but my favorite is dual dice. So anyway, Magic the Gathering is my number 2.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 is another Fantasy Flight game, and it's Star Wars
Android?
Destiny. And yes, I consider this a collectible card game and not a dice game because the mechanic is playing cards and you're building a card deck. It is not a dice game. It is not Dice Masters. Star Wars Destiny is a card game. Hashtag Star Wars Destiny is a card game.
You can't just say hashtag and make people do it.
Well, I'm seeing Z. Are you giving me the look or not the look? And be honest.
Isn't there cards in Dice Masters too?
But Dice Masters, you're really
on my list.
the dice are the game basically. The cards are just there for supplemental. In Star Wars Destiny, you're actually building a card deck and you're building your deck. So it's a deck building game, and it's a collectible game. And I consider Star Wars Destiny my number 2. I
Okay,
love
I
this.
actually will not disagree. You are playing a deck against someone else, but you just happen to have custom dice that come with it.
Yes.
That's fair enough.
Yes, exactly. So I win this one. Yes. That's because Tom probably forgot to put it on his list.
No, because he probably eliminated it. Well, it might not have made it, but it has dice. All right, we'll let you get away with 1. He's playing his Sam part
If his
well.
number 1 is Dice Masters, we got.
Well, he's playing the part of Sam rather well by putting
Magic-
1 in there. That's not quite. you know.
Magic had a die too that you had to go from a 20 to an 18 to a
No,
Totally
garbage.
optional.
but yes, I love Star Wars Destiny. I
Shoehorn.
love all of the I love the different packs. I love that they keep coming out with new content. They just came out with like Grand Admiral Thrawn and like there's so many
love
cool
whatever
things.
that is.
There's so many cool things, and it's Star Wars, and the dice look gorgeous. I originally thought I was gonna hate the dice, but the dice look gorgeous, and I will keep buying this as long as it comes out. It seems like the
Like
waves.
everything else that
well,
they make.
Fantasy Flight.
Gorgeous.
You were talking about this with Legend of the Five Rings, and there was a whole bunch of this that came out, and then there's been this big gap now, and
Really?
this new set's supposed to come out, but it hasn't come out. So I think that
They have a lot of product lines. It's tough.
I
I'm
think
sure.
they're weaning their stuff slowly, and I have a feeling that there won't be Destiny in like another year or 2. But get it while you can, because I have a feeling it's not going to be there for long. And if you like Star Wars, this is the Star Wars game to play.
All right. Well, I'm going
Okay.
to get back into the spirit of the list with my number 2. My number 2 is a dead CCG that I wish they would bring back, and that is BattleTech CCG. This was from Wizards of the Coast, and it was very much based on Magic. Because you put, instead of creatures, you're putting mechs in front of you and you're attacking your opponent, but instead of attacking their life total, you are attacking their deck, or you can attack cards in front of them, like I might attack this, you had 5 different things, like there were cards called logistics and munitions, and those would be the 5 colors of Magic, right?
Right.
I could attack one of those cards and get rid of that. And so you would have your mechs, and they could guard things, or they could be like roaming, but you could only block someone when roaming if you were a faster speed or the same speed as they were. So it was really fun, and a lot of characters that I knew from the book. I really enjoyed it. I think probably it wasn't completely balanced. There were certainly cards that were better than other ones, which is odd for Wizards of the Coast to do that sort of thing. But it was like the early stages.
Oh, back in the day, this whole concept of like balance was a little loosey-goosey.
But either way, really liked this one a lot. I liked a lot of it's because of the theme, but I also thought it was a really solid game. So BattleTech.
I mean, the
Cool.
theme was great. I love BattleTech too.
Never played that one, but I was aware of it. Yeah.
And finally, number 1.
For the first time ever, these dice make thematic sense, because these are technically the countdown dice from
Yeah, these are
Magic.
not
But
actually.
you can't actually use dice in a CCG. Didn't we just argue about dice?
No, the last one BattleTech, the one I just talked about, that has if you use missiles, you roll dice for the missiles.
So Star Wars Destiny and what my number 1 is, yes.
Whatever. All right, let's roll. But if your dice gets hit by someone else, it could change it.
Okay, ready?
Ready, go. Oh, I missed. That was pretty bad.
That's me.
All right.
15. Well, I'll start because mine I think is the most obvious of all, and then I'll do Jason, then you last. How about that?
I don't know what Jason's is.
All right. So mine is What do you guys think it is? My number one.
Arkham Horror
card game.
Shut up. Yeah, it is.
You just asked us.
You're right. I'm sorry. Hope Cthulhu gets you.
Here.
Arkham Horror, the card game. This is a living card game. It's my favorite. Right now, for sure, it's the one that's the hottest game for me right now. I've been playing it a lot. As I said, it's kind of inspired by the Lord of the Rings card game, using some of the same mechanisms, setting it in a different world, a world I like much more, setting I like much more, like you said. But the story aspects of it are just tremendously strong and much more thematic than the Lord of the Rings game. It's the campaign idea in this is captivating. The idea that when you finish a scenario, no matter how well you did, how badly you did, you're going to read a little fluff, you're going to write down some notes, carry over some aspects of what happened to you, and play the next one. The Lord of the Rings one, you don't do that. You play, and if you lose, you're done. And they're not even that connected, really. I mean, one chapter to the next. You just sort of set up a different deck you play against. But this has just so much flavor and dread and interest. I adore this game. It took me a little bit to get into. It's a game that's pretty heady. There's a lot going on in it, a lot of phases and keywords and all that stuff. But wow, is this game engaging. So yeah, my number one, Arkham Horror, the card game. Love it. I hope they support this for a long time because I will keep getting them.
Yes.
I am adoring it. So there you go. That's my number one.
Yeah, that's the game. If there's one LCG that they're going to keep supporting, it's that
I
one.
hope so, man. I hope so. All right, what's yours?
I can't figure yours
Well, what do you
out.
guys think my number one is?
Okay, it has to be.
Is it a dead CCG?
Not quite.
Okay, it can't be Yu-Gi-Oh.
It's
You don't
not.
like Yu-Gi-Oh.
It's not Dice Masters, obviously, because I wasn't going to cheat.
You already have, but
It's not a dead CCG. Okay, is it something that they're still supporting?
Sort of.
Oh man, what's going on? You got to pick one or the other.
Okay, so I'm a Disney fan, and no, not Kingdom Hearts, even
Maple
though
Story.
Kingdom Hearts was cool. No, this one.
the one
is
that's at the theme park.
Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom at the theme park. Yes.
Are you kidding? That's your number one?
This game is amazing. This.
I don't know what's going on.
So there's a game. It's called Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom.
I got
you
that
only
part.
could play it at the Magic Kingdom at Disney, and you go in the morning and you go to Town Hall or the Firehouse, and you get a pack of 5 cards, and they're like different characters, Mickey Mouse, whatever, and different princesses, etc. So you're collecting these, and they also, if you go to their stores, you could buy booster packs which have more cards. They also have rare and ultra rare cards that if you go during Mickey's Halloween party, you get a special Halloween themed card.
All
If you go
right,
during the
fine. So what do you do
Christmas
with these
party.
cards?
So what you
Go.
do with these cards is you go scavenger hunting around the Magic Kingdom, and there's these portals that are all around the Magic Kingdom. One's like under the railroad station. The first one you go to is under the railroad station in
Tell
downtown.
me what happens in the game.
You take your cards, you decide who you're going to use, what kind of spells you're going to use, and then you wave your cards in front of this magic mirror, and all of a sudden a video comes up, and it's Hades who you're battling against. And Hades comes out and starts antagonizing you, and you get a clue to go to
Don't you antagonize me, Hades?
another location somewhere in the Magic Kingdom. And once you figure out the clue, you have to go to this other location, and then you might have to use other cards to reveal the next thing. And this is like a giant scavenger hunt.
So it's like walking
slash
the collectible card game.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like that great of a game, though. It sounds like a
is.
fun activity,
Okay,
but it doesn't
it's
sound
a
like a
puzzle.
game.
There's puzzles in it. This was designed by Mike Selinker. I know Disney doesn't promote who designed it because, you know, they want to keep it like this is Disney. But Mike Selinker, who
This
does
is
great,
Selinker. This
who
is
does great
Selinker.
puzzles, did this, and it is really, there's a lot of thought into this, and it's great.
Seems fairly expensive, though.
No, it's free.
It's not free. I gotta pay $100 to go into the park.
Okay, it's
Every time you want to play
expensive.
it, the worst booster draft ever.
If you look at it that way, it's the most 5 cards for
And then you have to
$100.
pay for more cards if you want more cards, you said.
But
Right?
What's the
Because if there's one thing that Disney needs is more money.
no, because every time you go to the park, you get 5 more
Okay,
cards.
let me ask you this: Disney owns Star Wars and Marvel. Are those guys show up?
Not yet.
Well.
I'm expecting
This
one
made
day.
his number one. I don't know. I better
Because I
once we're
love
done
this.
here, there better be like a check from Disney waiting for me on my desk out there.
It feels like he's working for them right now.
Well, I
What's
said
happening?
this. One day, we're gonna have to see if we can get Mike and like go around and interview him and go around to different portals and I could show everyone this
Super
game.
expensive interview.
No, because clearly we can try to set this up with Disney to take us as a media thing.
Confused. I'm really confused.
You'll get to see it if we do
Has he
this.
said awesome this entire time? I don't think this is the real Jason.
All right, let me get to my number one.
Okay, the experience is awesome, and plus you get to ride some cool rides while you're at the park. Or at least find some
Can you please
hidden
take us
things.
home here? Bring us back.
All right. Now, I almost, for my number one, I didn't include this one game because I think all digital doesn't count. But Hearthstone could have made my number one. I really do like Hearthstone.
Not your number one.
Oh.
No. But
Okay,
Hearthstone.
good.
Well, I don't think
Good. I would have killed you if you did that.
Hey, you just put a game about walking and getting into an amusement park as your number one. If there's going to be any murdering,
Why are we talking about murder here?
I don't know. He brought it up.
No, but Hearthstone's great, but I think all digital games probably don't count for this list. But I just wanted to mention that in case people are like, you should have talked about Hearthstone. Great game. But my number one is another dead one. And I got into this one because it was dead, and there was a ton made for it. AEG had it for a while. A company from Germany is still publishing it, maybe. It's D&D, the collectible game, and Warlord.
I remember.
Warlord, yeah, of course.
I really like Warlord. You like it, actually.
Yeah, it's fine. I owned it for a while.
Warlord is very similar to Versus in some ways, where you have like a pyramid
He said
structure.
Versus this time.
That's the right saying. Unless you play the short game.
Jason's here. The high fives are flying. Go.
Give me one. Awesome. Awesome for giving me a high five.
I hate you both.
That's good, man. Warlord, yeah.
Yeah, Warlord is a game in which you would build this band of people, and you actually roll dice. It's a 20-sided system to hit people, which some people didn't like. I thought was fun. But what I really liked about this game is you get these uber powerful characters, but you couldn't get them on the table to get a bunch of weaker ones
That's
that would
right.
like support them first.
That's right.
And that's a pretty good system. This is one I still have pretty much everything for, and I don't even have everything for the game. I just bought a whole bunch of starter
They
packs.
supported this for a long time. Yeah, I had a bunch of it for a while. A bunch of things. Yeah, it's a pretty good amount, but I got rid of it.
And I like the dice rolling aspect of it. I like the whole 20-sided combat. Sure, sometimes you'll lose because you messed up, but you get these really cool, powerful characters, but you may not get them out. There's like a couple dragons. I'm still not sure how to get them on the table because I'm thinking, all right, I'd have to have this. Or like they need to come on like level 7.
Right, and it's kind of like a pyramid.
How am I going to build a pyramid that deep? That's hard. So yeah, that's my favorite.
This would be a good one for them to bring back, cleaned up, non-collectible, or maybe like living card game style.
Yeah.
That would be a good one for that. Nice.
This is certainly a list that there's a lot that we didn't mention. That there's all kinds of these cards out there. No one talked about Yu-Gi-Oh. There's a lot of games. You mentioned a wrestling one and a football one. There's SimCity.
Tons of those.
All kinds of games out there.
The Simpsons.
The Pez one. You remember the Pez one?
No.
They had an awful Tomb Raider one.
Oh, then they tried to make
Yes.
there was ones that they were going to try to make them work together.
The
The
Aliens.
Tomb Raider one I think was part of that, right?
Yeah. And Aliens and Predator, they had one.
Shadowfist was a big one.
Yes.
X-Files. Okay. Anyway, tell us your favorites in the comments. I'm
Yeah.
sure there are tons of them. Tell us about them. But thanks, Jason, for coming in.
Yeah, man.
Yes,
appreciate it.
and see you all on the flip side.
He did it!